Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on VoiceAmerica.com, America's Voice. We're in our, I think, 24th year here on Voice America. I've had many other shows on many other networks, all different types, but I've stayed consistent with Voice America through the years. And this is the program that shows you how to turn your problems into solutions and your obstacles into opportunities and make your dreams come true. And today we're talking about how to maximize your life before your time runs out. You might say, well, gee, I've got a lot of time left. However, the name of the book is Your To Die For Life: How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. My guest is Karen Salmansohn. She is a best-selling author with 2 million books and courses sold. She's a leading behavioral change expert, and she's a columnist for Oprah and Psychology Today, as well as the founder of the popular personal development NotSalmon.com, which has a vibrant community of 1.5 million followers. Karen has been sparking transformation in individuals and companies for a few decades, and she's passionate about digging deep and finding fascinating insights and tools and studies from all areas of life, including psychology, Eastern and Western philosophy, neuroscience, quantum physics, and more. She began writing self-help for people who wouldn't be caught dead doing self-help in 1999 with the bestseller, How to Be Happy, Damn It. And that was the very first personal development book of its kind to have that kind of edgy humor. Since then, she's written many bestsellers, including the Bounce Back book and Think Happy. And now she's excited to pioneer the mortality awareness movement by illuminating life's most avoided conversation, death, and reminding others to live more bravely. Welcome, Karen.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, what a wonderful background. You know, I'm going to start this on a personal note because I may not look it, but I am a boomer and I'm an early boomer. That's what I'm going to say. That's it. And it hasn't been until recently that I've really looked at this because I've been vibrant and I work a couple of decades below my age and I'm just very active. So I just really haven't thought about um, my to die for life until recently when I've been saying, oh, wait a minute, you don't have as many years left. And it's a very sobering thought because I think about what's going to be in maybe 30, 40 years and I won't be here.
Mm.
And that I'm going way beyond here, but even so, I just I think about it. And I also think about the decisions that I make now have greater impact because time is involved. So
Yeah.
if I take a detour, that's time that's taking off of the other end that I never thought of before. And I know I'm not alone, and I'm glad you've written this because there are millions of us baby boomers. And, a lot of us are facing this. So I guess my question is, I'm not sure what my first question is, but I think what it is what do you say to people like me, boomers, late boomers, early boomers, who are really thinking about this now? And with some trepidation, but a lot of thought. What do you think, Karen? That was a long-winded question.
No, well, I get it. Believe me, that's why I wrote the book. I mean, it started to occur to me the idea. It's funny, we say life is short, and it's like something you embroider on a pillow, but you don't really get it. Like, life is short, like that kind of like awareness until you start having the people you love pass away,
Yes.
or you have scarier health challenges, not like scary, but like the scarier health challenges. So that started to happen to me. And at this point, I'm 65. So it's happening more and more. It's really um it puts a fire under your tush. But I don't think mortality awareness needs to be morbid. It can be motivating because,
Yes.
as you expressed, it creates a sense of urgency, and then that creates action. And if you come at it correctly, embracing it in a more mindful mindset way rather than in a scary kind of dark way. And that's how I embrace it. And that's why I write with humor too. So we can talk about this and not make it feel morbid. We can even laugh as we talk about it. I
Mm.
definitely feel that's the way to approach this. So it's not this scary, dark topic. It's like talking about death is almost like one of the last taboo topics. So we'll talk about abortion, gun control, even politics, but it's like, oh, you bring up mortality. And it's like, no, 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 hush voices. So I
Yeah.
wanted to bring up the conversation around it. And I believe that if you allow yourself to really understand life is short. We're here and then we're not. That it's up to us to make that here part as meaningful as possible. Something shifts in some really positive ways. Instead of being scared to speak up or take that adventure or do that risky thing, you start to become more scared of not doing it because you don't want to get to the end of your life with the music still
Mm.
inside of you. It
Mm.
switches it, and suddenly you're not as scared. Uh, you know,
Mm.
I'm going to be myself. I'm going to say that thing. I'm going to go do that thing because what your fear is switches. What's to fear? Life is
Mm.
short. I'm doing it. And that's sort of what my book is about. And what I did was one of the main things in my book that I did was I looked at the top regrets of the dying, and I took each of them and I reverse engineered them. And I thought, what do I need to do now so I don't get to the end of my life with one of the top regrets of the dying? And I
Erin,
started,
would you go over those? I think that's very important.
oh, sure, sure, sure. So,
What's the
first,
top one?
yeah, I will. I'll go through all of them. And I pulled them from different sources, not just the famous five, because I wanted to make sure, because now a lot of death doulas are talking about the top regrets. So they're slightly shifting, which I thought was interesting. Um, But I also want to say that one of my top tools is I help people to write their own eulogies. So they have their personal vision. So it's not just like there's carrot stick. So you're not just afraid of getting to your life with those regrets, but you're also excited about getting to your life doing certain things. So it's like carrot stick, it's both. So the top regrets of the dying. Oh, and then the other thing before I start, you know, uh, just going through all of them is that a big part of my book is saying that we have to really kind of understand this is such a big topic, what the purpose of life is. Okay, very big topic. I'm going to try to shrink it down to fit into this interview. But one of my favorite philosophers is Aristotle. And he said that the reason why so many people are unhappy is that they don't have the right end goal for their lives. He believed that the purpose of life was to learn lessons that help you to become your highest potential self.
Mhm.
And he believed that we should live a soul-directed life, not an ego-directed life, status-directed life, power, fame, glory, beauty, money. And a lot of people don't have the end goal of life, become my best self. They have become the richest person on the planet, become the sexiest person on the planet, have the most YouTube followers. It's all ego, status, fame, power, glory, beauty. And he says if you make those things the end goal for your life, you're not only going to enjoy your life less, but when you get to the end of your life, you're going to be really mightily disappointed because you're going to realize you chased the wrong rabbits.
Yeah.
So I just want to state that as like an underlying thread throughout the book. So looking at some of the top regrets of the dying, I wish I hadn't worked so hard is one of the most famous of them. And a lot of people feel this way. We live in this hustle culture of like productivity and, everybody being in beast mode. And so I look at that and I've coined the term best mode, not beast mode, where you have more balance, because if you feel like, I wish I hadn't worked so hard, you're not going to have a balanced life where you have meaningful relationships, meaningful experiences. You're going to deprioritize those. So that's one of the big ones that I really go into.
Interesting. What's
And
another one? We have
yeah,
a few
I'll
minutes
keep
till
going.
break. So what's another one?
But- Okay, so another one is a lot of them were on this. Oh, and then I'm going to say that what I do believe in my book, I give people the opportunity to write their own eulogy, and I make it even fun. I'm going to say fun to write your own eulogy. Yes, fun, by giving them a fill in the blank Mad Libs type template. So you just fill in the blanks on your eulogy.
Huh.
And then a little spoiler alert for your listeners is that a lot of those blanks actually are core values because Aristotle says that you want to become your highest potential self. So it's really, are you living, embracing core values? Brave, loving, authentic, all of these, which I have 7 that I recommend. And so I have people thinking about how they show up and embracing those core values.
Yeah.
So the next one was I wish I had expressed myself more. And also another one that's sort of like a twinning with it is I wish I had lived more true to myself. And the core value there is authentic. We want to be authentic about
Yeah.
how we live our lives. And a
Yeah.
lot of people kind of push that aside. They care about what their family thinks, friend thinks,
Yeah.
society thinks.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, very interesting. And even the way you're phrasing it and helping people. So how do you reverse engineer that one?
Okay. So in each of these, I explain in the book, I am, my background is not only, best-selling author, but also a behavioral change expert. So I'm very much interested in how to motivate people and then how to get them to do it. And how you get, because you can know you need to do something, but how do you actually, okay, I'm going to do it. So I have in the book a recommendation to use what I call identity-based statements. So if you link your identity to a habit, studies show you're more likely to do it. And we do that subconsciously. For
Give us an
example,
example of that.
okay. If you walk around thinking, I am a sloppy person, you are going to do the habits of a sloppy
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
walk
Yep.
around,
Yep.
I am brave, you're going to do brave.
Yeah.
This is why sometimes it's hard to get motivated to go to the gym if you're not going to the gym, and easy to keep going to the gym if you're already going to the gym, because people that are already going to the gym think, I am athletic, I am disciplined. If you're
Mhm.
not, you're like, I'm lazy, I'm
Mhm.
not athletic. But then once you start going a couple of times, your brain starts going, oh, I
Mhm.
am athletic. Oh, I am
Mhm.
disciplined. And that's where the positive, that's where the upward spiral happens. And the downward spiral happens because you don't have those identities.
Right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear more of, what are the things that people say that they regret as they're older or as they're facing death, and how do we re-engineer those? I have with me today Karen Salmansohn, who is a best-selling author, and her book is Your to Die for Life. And the subtitle is How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. And you can go to, um, would the website be benbellabooks.com?
Well, Ben Bella Books is my publisher and they distribute for Simon and Schuster. It's sold everywhere. It's sold at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you name it, Target, so many places. And I do
Right.
have a website called Your To Die for Die, it's todieforlife.com that they
Okay.
can go to.
Thank you. All right. We'll be back with Karen right after the break. Stay tuned, everyone. Hi, everyone, and we are back. We are back with Patricia Raskin, Positive Living, and my wonderful guest, Karen Salmansohn, who was a best-selling author for many years, and her book is Your to Die For Life: How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. So, welcome back, Karen.
Great to
And we were talking about what are the top 5 things or the top things that people say as they are approaching the end of their life or this life that they regret.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up. I'll name more of the regrets, but I want to go back into the theory of my book because it has like a whole system in it. And I want to explain that a little bit more too. I believe that we're here, as I said earlier, to learn lessons that help us become our best possible self. And I believe that and I also believe this, okay, that so I have 7 core values that I recommend that will help you to avoid the top regrets of the dying. So I'm going to tell you what those 7 regrets are. But I also believe that if you want to get to the end of your life and feel like, okay, that I did, bravo, meaningful life. Yes, I did it. I loved my life. Then you have to be mindful of what you choose to do in a day. So that's why in the book I have things like an audit of your day where you figure out, where you're wasting time and everything like that. But I think that to-do lists can be dangerous for people because believe it or not, I
Yeah,
know
I'm like, really?
I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Stay with me here. Because the standard to-do list is about productivity. And the
Yes.
goal of life is not to be productive. The goal of life is to have a meaningful experience with meaningful relationships and all of those. And a to-do list worships productivity. You could get to the end of your life and check off everything on your to-do list and feel like you wasted your time here. Because at your funeral, nobody's going to get out your LinkedIn profile and read your LinkedIn profile. Nobody's going to open up your Google Calendar, print it out, pass it out to everybody and say, look at this. She never missed a dentist appointment. No. What they're going to do at your funeral is they're going to tell stories. And the stories are going to be, she was always so supportive of me. I remember one time I called her up. I said I was, feeling challenged. And she offered to introduce me to somebody that could help me. Or I was sick and she was so kind. She brought me soup. Or I was upset and she had such a great way of listening. She calmed me. Each of those stories have core values in them: kind, supportive, great listener, loving, all of these things. The stories people tell about you all have to do with core values. That's
Yes.
who you are, your character, and that's how you show up. So
Yes.
besides having a to-do list, I think people need what I call a to-die list. And it's not a bucket list. It's not that. It's daily habits that you can do that you make sure you're doing them that wouldn't be on your generic to-do list.
Mm,
And they all have to do with a core value and
mm,
a habit. Uh,
mm.
I am, and so I do. And
Yeah,
to write those down each day to make sure that you are living in adherence with the person you want to be.
yeah. I want to comment on that because I want to give you an example of what I think that is
Yeah.
in terms of my life. So let's take the example of exercising, or for me, it's swim aerobics, jumping in the pool. Okay. And I am very dedicated to this. I go often, almost every day, but not always every day. The point of this is, you might say to me, well, gee, Patricia, that sounds like a to-do list, but it isn't. Because what that does for me is when I leave there, I have such renewed energy and vitality and and purpose that whatever that 40 minutes does, whatever I do to zone out or be in the hot water and then the cold water, makes such an impact on me
Hmm.
that it's something that is part of a core value of mine, which would be to be energetic, to be dynamic, to stay
Exactly.
positive. All of that helps me when I do that activity.
Exactly. And you know what? It's like chicken, egg, egg, chicken. you believe that you have a lot of vitality, so you do the actions of a person. And
That's
also,
correct.
it would create cognitive dissonance in you if you didn't do things like this.
It does.
When you remind yourself that these are core values to you, you're more likely to do it. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you a quick story right now. I see when I was when I was younger in particular, I saw myself, and I do still see myself that way now, but I'm going to tell a story where I kind of make fun of myself a little. Okay, so um, but being feisty, being innovative, being bold, being brave, these are things that I've always felt about myself. And so when I was younger, I had the idea for one of the books that you mentioned when you first introduced me for a book called How to Be Happy, Damn It. And it had the word damn it in the title. This is back in the 1990s. Nobody
Mhm.
was putting like curse
Yeah.
words. This
Yeah.
isn't even a big curse word, quite frankly, considering some of the curse words that are
I
book
was
titles,
just thinking of that curse word that
right?
begins with an F with, and they usually have expletives
Hello.
instead of the last three letters.
Yeah. But back in the 1990s, my
Yeah, right.
agent thought I was literally, she thought I was nuts. Like, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the book itself had humor, and then I pictured design. I could just sort of see the whole book. And I tried to talk her into it, and she tried to talk me out of it. And I could just see it. And I said, you know what? I love you. Her name was Lydia. I did love her. I said, but I believe in this book, and I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to do this book. So I took the book idea, and I was a creative director in advertising, but I didn't know InDesign or Photoshop. And back then they didn't have things like Canva. So I found somebody that did, and I creative directed the book from beginning to end, the entire book, because I had the vision, because I thought publishing houses are both fearful and lazy. And if you just give them a written proposal, they don't really know what it looks like. The same way Lydia, my agent, didn't know what it looked like. So I took some of the fear and some of the laziness out, and I said, this is what it looks like. And then I found another agent, and then we sent it out. There was a bidding war. It came out. How to Be Happy, Damn It, huge
Wow.
bestseller. Urban Outfitters best-selling book for a bunch of years in a row, and was in an Eminem video, the
Mhm.
musician. You see the camera pans and he's reading it because the cover was this bright orange. It was in a PBS documentary on happiness. So it had the range of, it could appeal to Eminem, the musician, and also PBS. Anyway, it really helped to put me on the map. So cut to recently, actually more than recently, for the last 10 or more years, I've been wanting to write this book that we're talking about death. And my other agent, who I also love, I kept saying, she's like, nobody wants a book about death. Don't write about, you write about happiness. Why are you writing about death? I mean, she doesn't talk like that. I don't know why I'm describing her voice like that. But anyway, and I let her keep talking me out of it. And then it was just in me, in my belly. I gotta write this book. I really believe in it. And so one day I thought to myself, I guess when I was younger, I was feisty. I was bold. I was innovative. I guess I'm not that way anymore. I actually thought that thought. And I knew what the book was about, like your thoughts, identity is destiny. Your identity is the puppet master for your habits. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. When I was younger, I was feisty, I was innovative, I was bold, I was brave. Like, I'm still that person. I am feisty, I am innovative, I am bold. I'm going to do this book on death. I did, back then I left that agent. I'm leaving this agent too. Called her up. I love you, but I believe in this book. I'm leaving you. And then I did it. That's the power of identity. When you remind yourself of what your core values are, of what you stand for, you are more likely to do it because that cognitive dissonance. I'm not feisty. Wait a minute. I'm feisty.
Right. Karen, I have a question.
Yes.
What if the first book, let's go to the first book, that you had the word damn it in it. And let's say that you did it as you did. And let's say that the first agent was right, that book, that it didn't go well because of the name or whatever happened.
hmm
Would you then have said, I should have listened? Or would you have said, no, I did the right thing?
I still would have thought, no, I did the right thing, and I would have studied it. Because not all my books are winners. And I'm going to tell you something weird from last night. I put up an essay on Substack, and I'm used to my essays doing, like, having some nice traction. And the essay wasn't getting the same traction. But I looked at the core of the essay and I still believed in it. So I thought, what is not resonating? And I studied it. I mean, my son kept coming in, you're still working on that? I'm still working on it. And I changed the headline and I changed the subject, the title of it. And then I changed the image. And suddenly, boom, I got all these comments. Not only that, it went from like crickets to, I think this is the best thing you ever written, like underneath it. And it was only because I studied it. And
Yeah.
I still believed in
Yeah.
what the essay was about. And so that's what I would try to do, is try to study it and learn from it.
Yeah.
And I still think that we have to trust our gut on something. If your gut is that loud, I think you have to trust it if
Yeah.
it's that loud.
Yeah. Very, very powerful, Karen, very powerful. And I think something that you said just now is another lesson for people. That is that you studied it,
I
but
did.
not everybody does. Most people, and I shouldn't say most, but many, would look at what you looked at and say, oh, well, I guess this one just isn't working. Next, next, I'll write another one. A lot of people would have done that. So the fact that you had the boldness and that you believed in it so much and that you transformed it really speaks to what this is all about.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. It's a new thought. It's epiphany. You just triggered in me. Is one of my core values is curious.
Hmm.
I became curious
Hmm.
more than like depressed
Hmm.
or hurt. Or I was like, why isn't this working? Is this thing on? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I became curious. What's missing? Why is it
yeah.
not hitting?
Instead of letting it affect you personally,
Yes, I
like
got
what did I
curious.
do wrong and how come
Well,
this
I
is like all the, you're right.
Well, I did tell myself, what did I do wrong? Just to be honest, because I do think that does help. Like, what did I do wrong? Owning
Yeah, but you
what,
learned from it.
but I learned from
But
it.
you
Yeah.
learned from
I
it.
became
Yeah,
curious. I'm like, this is
yeah,
interesting. Why
yeah,
didn't this hit?
yeah.
And that's one of my top core values is being curious. I think that helps us. That's how I believe we repeat what we don't repair, and we become martyrs to our pain unless we get curious. Why does this keep
Absolutely.
happening to me? Instead of why does this keep
Yeah,
happening to me?
yeah,
Why does this keep happening to me?
yeah,
There's a big
exactly.
difference.
Exactly. And on that note, that very powerful and inspirational note, really asking and being curious when something doesn't work, we're going to take a break. My guest is Karen Salmansohn. She is a best-selling author with over 2 million books and courses sold. Her latest is Your To Die For Life, How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on Voice America, and we'll be right back. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. We are back. We're back with Karen Salmansohn. Her book is Your To Die For Life: How to Maximize Joy and Minimize Regret Before Your Time Runs Out. Karen Salmansohn is a best-selling author with 2 million books and courses sold, and she's a leading behavioral change expert and columnist for Oprah and Psychology Today. And she also has a website, notsalmon.com. And welcome back, Karen. We're talking about what are things that you might do in your wish list, right, to maximize joy and minimize regret. And that's what we've been talking about.
And I was going to tell you my favorite top 7 core values to embrace to help you
Go
to
ahead.
avoid the regrets, the top regrets of the dying. So I'm going to go through each of them. There's 7, but I acknowledge that, I mean, one of my core values is be authentic. So not all of these 7 might be for everybody, but I kind of think they are kind of the DIY kit of like core values. If you embrace these 7, you're going to do pretty good. But feel free to add in if anybody's like listening at home, and like I've already mentioned, like feisty and innovative, and those aren't in these top 7, but I still embrace those. So the 7 that I have go in alphabetical order. And the first one is A for authentic, which I've mentioned before, how that helps you to avoid the top regrets of the dying. I wish that I had been true to myself. I wish I'd expressed myself more openly. Um, B is brave. And that helps you to get out of your comfort zone where, you're going to feel like took risks and had adventure, stretch yourself. C is curious. And I explained why that one helps. It helps you to correct any bad patterns that you have, that you can look at it. And also it helps you live with more awe. Like even just being curious, like, look at that rainbow, whatever it is. It just helps you to have more awe and wonder in your life, which definitely gives you more joy. D is discerning. And you need that because a lot of people say, oh, I didn't have time to do that, or I don't have time to do that. And really, I think that's the adult equivalent of saying the dog ate my homework because we have time. We're just filling it up with what I call crap and clutter. Like, where your time leaks, where your happiness leaks. And then, so that's D is discerning. And then E is empathic love. And I definitely believe that meaningful relationships are like one of the top things that help you to live a meaningful life. And I called it empathic love because I needed an E word to fit in there because I wanted to make it alphabetical. But I actually think it makes it even better because love, sometimes you hear that and you might think romance or chemistry, but empathic love is really about active listening, showing up, having kindness, and it can apply to strangers, colleagues, your dog, clients, everything. So across the board. F is fun. And yes, fun is a core value because remember up front, I said one of the top regrets of the dying is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So the antidote for that is, embracing fun and making sure on your to die list, you have fun things to do, that you're not just filling it up with your, productivity worshiping things. And then G is grateful, to live with gratitude. That helps you to if you're on your way to doing something that's challenging and hard, embracing gratitude on a daily basis, or even having grateful, because one of the things that was a regret of the dying is I wish I hadn't lost touch with my friends. That was one. And if you're grateful for your friends, if you really appreciate them, you're going to not let them kind of drift away from you. So gratitude also helps you to have more of what you already love in your life, not just to be constantly looking for new, more, better, but to appreciate what you have and put your focus there. So those are the top 7 core values that will help you to avoid the top regrets of the dying.
Yeah. Quick story. So I live in the East Coast. I live in Rhode Island, but I had lived in North Carolina in a previous relationship for a long time. And I had developed an incredible community of women friends. And I did a lot there with media and columns and tons. And I miss it. I came back here because my family's here and went through a breakup. And I've stayed in touch with those people, a few of the core people over these years. It's been about 15 years now. And I've stayed in touch with them, I mean, on Facebook and stayed in touch. So my significant other had a conference near there. He was being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I in another state nearby. And so I wrote to them and I said, I'd love to get these women together again. I'd love to have a luncheon. And these two women who were the core of the community, one's married to the mayor, one is whatever. And they said, yeah, okay, well, who would you like? And we'll help you. So I sent them a list of maybe 12 people that I had remembered. I haven't seen a lot of them, but they all knew me well. And we got to about a week out, and it's like they were all coming. They were all coming. So I get down there, and we did this wonderful event with the Hall of Fame with my guy. And then we drove over 3 hours, and they had this luncheon for me at this beautiful hotel in this beautiful place I lived on the water. And it was it was such a peak experience for me. I mean, here were these beautiful, elegant women who were also bright and successful in their own right. And I went around the table and I said to them, here's what you meant to me, here's what you meant to me. It was only 1 hour. And then they said, well, are you staying? And no, we had to go back. So I didn't even get to stay, but I hadn't been there in a while. And it's changed. It changes over 10 years. There's more development, there's new highways coming in, of course. And but these were, core people from the community who were the rock bed of the community. And it was the most, I'll tell you, Karen, it was one of those memorable moments I will never forget because they were so happy that I was there, and they all came in honor of me coming back and had this luncheon for me. And I mean, I have pictures. It was so it's very much what you're talking about. That's why I brought it up. And I'm sometimes I'm sad about it. But what I realized, and I'd like you to address this, I can't go back to the way it was 15 years ago with those women. Even
Mm,
if I went back and I lived there, it wouldn't be the same. They're not in the same place. They're older, their kids are grown. We're not probably going to do the same boat trips we did or do the same stuff. And we're probably not always going to be together. So I have to remember that. And I think that's something that's hard for a lot of us because those times in our life that were so special, they're encapsulated in our brains. But if we go back, it's not going to be the same. And we have to remember, because I've done that. I've been with people and I've gone back to try to recreate, and it's not the same.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. But that's okay because there's always new passages, new stages, different
That's right.
chapters of our lives. There's chapters in our lives, literally. And just because a chapter is over doesn't mean there aren't more chapters. You just have to like get curious, well, what's the next chapter going to be? What's the next one going to be? You know? But also about sharing gratitude out loud while we can. People wait to funerals to say all the nice things
Yes.
about people. Don't wait to the funeral to tell somebody how much they mean to you and what you love about them. Say it now. Stop putting anything off to someday. Delete the word someday from your vocabulary.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is live it now. And you could say that at any age. But what you're saying is, particularly as we get older, live it now. You
Yeah.
know, and we also don't know how many years we have left, right? I mean, those of us who have lived longer, aren't we lucky? We've lived longer. And we may have 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we don't know. So,
Yeah, I have a lot of tools about that in the book. And I try to remind people of the life is short thing, and in many different ways. And one of my tools is a little bit, out there, but I'm going to tell you, and I wrote about this on Substack and it went super viral. People loved it. Um, I have what I call my marble mortality awareness jar. And what I did was I started this many years ago. I counted out how many months I have left to live if I live to 100. I mean, this is a real wake-up call one, okay? But I turned it into a ritual. We have a shared friend who does rituals. This is rituals. Rituals can be really powerful. Um, and I bought the marbles and I put them in, I had two jars, one where I kept my marbles for the future and one where I have an empty jar. It started out empty. It isn't anymore. And the first month, what I did was, and then even each month, and I still do it, but the first month was the most interesting. The first month, I took out a marble And I said, this marble represents my last month. What did I do with this month? Okay. And I looked at the marble and I thought, this is a piece of my life. This marble is a month of my life. What did I do last month? The first marble, Patricia, I couldn't really remember what I did. I was like, oh, I had that dental appointment. Like I went to, and I was like, okay, I have to try harder. I have to really live more mindfully and purposely schedule things that when I have my next month, I will hold up that marble and go, oh, I remember what I did last month. So I plunked the marble into the jar. And then the next month came around. It was the first of the month. And I do the ritual over coffee. And I pulled out a marble. And I knew what I was going to say because I keep the jars in my kitchen. And every time I walk into the kitchen, I'm like, I got to live up to those jars. I had a friend who was visiting from out of town. And at first I thought, oh, I'm so busy. She's like, oh, I'm in town. You want to meet me for spontaneous coffee? And then my first thought is, oh, I'm so busy. I'm like, wait a minute. Core values, loving friendships. Oh my God, the marble mortality awareness jar. I want to have something to report to the jar. Yes, I'm meeting you. Yes, I'm meeting you. So I now have things that when I think about it, I think I'm going to make sure I do this month because I know I have my accountability jar that I have to talk to the first of every month. And I keep that right in the kitchen. The
Mhm.
marbles are colorful and beautiful. And what's interesting is the jar that started out empty now has a lot of marbles in it. When I look at it, I still remember because they're each different colored marbles. They all look slightly different. Like, oh yeah, that was the month I did. That was the month I did. And I get excited for the next month because I plan things that I know I can report to the jar and it keeps me accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. There's also something called 10Q. It's more faith-based, but every year around the holiday, they send you 10 questions, one every day. And then you answer the questions about what you achieved, what's your fear, what do you hope, blah, blah. And then they put it in the vault, and then they send it to you the next year to see what you said the year before.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
beautiful.
very, very insightful.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
been doing
I
it
love
for
that.
several years. And so you go back and see, what did I write in 2020 about that? And it's really, really helpful, just to see where you are. Yeah, really important. What's your message for our listeners? I mean, if we were to sum this up, Karen, what would be your message?
That I would say it's kind of what I said in the beginning, that mortality awareness isn't morbid, it's motivating, that it's creates urgency, which creates action. So you use your time as you really want to use it. So, to embrace it. We're mortal. Quit dawdling. Get out there. Do what you got to do and live boldly, live authentically, and live
Yeah.
to the fullest.
And when you're stuck, would you suggest contacting friends, writing in a journal, exercising? What would you suggest we all get stuck at times?
Oh, well, I have a bunch of these. I'm really a big fan of journaling, but I have this one ritual I have people do in the mornings, to help you to write your to-die list or to help you if you are stuck, like you said, the word stuck exactly. Right at the top of a page, who do I need to become to get everything I want in my life? And then think about the core values. Or who do I need to become? And then you think of a problem that you have. Who do I need to become to get a new job? Who do I need to become to stop fighting with my partner? Who do I need to become to write that novel? Who do I need to become to get to the gym daily? Who do I need to become? Ask yourself that. And then write down the core values and then create I am and so I do statements. So you link it to the core value and you link it to a habit that you can do and then schedule that in your calendar. I schedule everything in my calendar, and then I have my calendar hooked up to my Alexa, which reminds me. So I hear it, I see it, and I hear it, the habit that I have to do that day. And I write it down with the core value.
That's wonderful. How can people get your book?
Well, the book is called You're to Die for Life, and I have a whole website just for the book with some freebies also on the website. And the website is you're to die for life.com, just like the title of the book. But the book is everywhere. It's on, Amazon and every bookstore and a lot of gift stores and stuff like that. And then my last name is Salmansohn, and everybody mangles it and they say Salmonson. So I'm always saying not salmon, not salmon. So my main website is notsalmon.com. My Instagram, not salmon. My Substack is substack.com/notsalmon. And pretty much not salmon everything. LinkedIn, YouTube, like
But
that's
it's also not S-O-N, it's S-O-H-N.
my real name. That's why I don't expect anybody to spell my last name correctly. It's Salmansohn. So if I had a website, KarenSalmonson.com, 3 people would find me. So I just make it not salmon.com. You don't have to
Perfect.
remember the H, you don't have to remember
Right,
anything,
right,
not the fish.com. So you
right.
can find me easily.
Karen, it's been really motivational, insightful, inspirational, what you're doing and what you've done to help millions of people.
Oh, thank
Well,
you.
thank
You
you.
asked really great questions, and I really enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, stay on the line for a minute. All right, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show. To find me, Patricia at patriciaraskin.com, and I'll sign you up for my newsletter, which has all these amazing guests on it, including Karen for this month. And the newsletter comes out every month, the first day of the month. Also, if you'd like to get your positive message out in your own podcast, I have interviewed over 6,000 guest experts in my career, and I'd love to help you. So contact me. I help you put the whole thing together and make it really pop, and would love to help you get your message out because I think these positive messages are so important. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Until next time, I'm Patricia Raskin. Bye for now.